All right, part 2, starting with solving absolute value equations. All right, I see a lot of careless mistakes when I put these on tests, so be careful. The absolute value of a number is defined as the distance that number is from 0 on the number line. Because distance is positive, the absolute value of a number will always be positive. Okay, so what they're talking about is like this one right here. We need to find out inside here is the absolute value of 5. That means here's 0. Over here you have the number 5 that's 5 units away from 0. Well, you also have a number to the left of that, which is negative 5. So the absolute value of 5 is 5 and negative 5, or the absolute value of what numbers, let's try this again. The absolute value of negative 5 is 5. And then the absolute value of positive 5 is 5, because it's a distance. So, well, what happens when I have more than one thing inside the absolute value marks? Well, what you do is you take that 2x minus 1. You're going to set it equal to a positive 5. That means from here to here, you have some number of x that when you multiply it by 2 and add 1 to it, you're going to end up with 5 in there. So that there, you're going to solve it just like we did. I'm not going to change my color pens right now. We get 2, add 1 to both sides, equals 2x equals 6, divide by 2, and we get, let's try, equals 3. Oh, no wonder. This is a minus 1. Let's try that. I was like, that's not working. There we go. It was a minus 1. I had a plus 1. Okay. Now, you also, inside here, you have some number that's going to give you a negative 5. All right? So this one people get, but when they go to take tests, they forget to take 2x minus 1 and also set it equal to a negative 5. Now you're going to add 1 to both sides, and you get 2x is equal to negative 4, divide by 2, and x is equal to negative 2. So you have two answers, and you can keep them like this, or you can just write it as negative 2 and 3. Both of those answers will work. Now you can check these answers, okay? You can check them. Let me try to get that glare. There's absolute value marks in on your calculator. You're going to hit your math button right here, and you're going to go over to number. That first thing is absolute value. So you hit 1 or enter. And now you can plug in, this is going to be wrong because I didn't store anything, 2x minus 1. Okay. Right now, x is some number. It's not negative 2 or it's 3. Okay. So it's going to be wrong. Okay. All right. So I have to store negative 2 under x. Now bring that back up. Okay. Now it should give us 5, which it did. And that's because negative 2, or you have 2 times negative 2 minus 1 inside there. This gives us a negative 4 minus 1. So inside that absolute value mark, we now have the absolute value of negative 5. That is 5 units away from 0. So this gives us 5. Well, when you have 3 store x, and you bring it back up, it's also going to give you 5. And the reason it gives you 5 is because when you plug 3 in here, you get 2 times 3 is 6 minus 1. So in there you have the absolute value of 5. Well, again, that's 5 units away from 0. So that's how you work these problems. Now you can't do that until you isolate your absolute value symbols, okay, your marks. So don't forget this one. Now, right here, we can't set it equal to a positive and a negative 7. Not yet. We have to get our absolute values marks by itself. Well, it's got a 1 and it's got this 2 outside. So the first thing you're going to do is subtract 1, because that's going to get rid of that. And you're going to get 2 times the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 6. Now divide by 2. And you're going to get, because these cancel, the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 3. Now that you have this all by itself, you now can go x minus 4 equals 3, and you can do x minus 4 equals a negative 3. Gotta do both of them, not just one. Gonna add 4. Soon we'll probably start skipping this step. Add 4. You get x is equal to 7. And over here, x is equal to 1. So our answers are, I'm just putting it in order, 1 to 7. 1, 7, you could put 7, 1, it doesn't really matter. And you can check that, okay? You can check it by going, storing 1. I got that glare from my light. 1, let's clear everything off. 1 store x. You're going to say 2, because you're going to plug this in, and then it should give us 7. 2 math, go over the number, you can hit enter or 1, I just hit 1, and I have x minus 4 inside there. Then I'm going to put plus 1 on the outside. If this number 1 is right, this should give us a 7 right here, and it does. Now check 7 store x, bring it back up, and again it should give us 7, which it does. So I know that answer's right. Now right here, I'm just going to tell you the answer is no solution, okay? Now some of you are going to say, well, I did this. X plus 2 equals negative 3, and I said x plus 2 is equal to a positive 3. But remember, absolute value is always positive. So no matter what you get in here, you're taking the absolute value. You cannot end up with a negative number. But let's just say you did this work and you subtracted 2. And you get x equals negative 5. Well, when you go to plug this in, all right, you would get the absolute value negative 5 plus 2, which gives you the absolute value of negative 3. But the absolute value of negative 3 is always going to be positive 3. You can't end up with a negative 3. And same thing here, when you subtract 2, you get x equals 1. Well, you're going to end up with a 1 plus 2, which gives us a positive 3. But when you take the absolute value of positive 3, it's 3. It's never going to be negative. So this answer right here is no solution. Okay. And right here, you can end up with 0. That's fine. But there's no such thing as a positive 0 and a negative 0. 0 isn't positive nor negative. It's just 0. You can think of it as being neutral. So you just say x plus 2 equals 0, subtract 2, and you get x is equal to a negative 2. Because when you plug that in, it's going to give you the absolute value of 0, which is 0 because it's 0 units away from itself. And it would check out. Okay. Solving radicals. I will tell you, you have to check your answers. You have to, because you will miss it even though your math is all correct, but you will get points off because the answer should be no solution and you didn't check it, and it would be called extraneous solutions. That is when all the math is right, every calculation is correct, but when you go to plug it in, it doesn't work. Okay, so There's some steps. First thing is you isolate the radical. Just like on these problems here, we had to isolate the absolute value. You isolate your radical. So that's the first step. So you're going to subtract 3 right here. When you do that, you end up with the square root of x minus 1 equals 2. Raise each side of the equation to the power equal to the index of the radical. Because this is a square root, the power is square. If this was a cube root, it would be to the third power. If it was the fourth root, it'd be to the fourth power. So we are going to square it. Because I talked about this in homework 3 notes. Squares and square roots are inverses of each other. They cancel each other out. So this square and that square root cancel each other out. And I'm left with x minus 1. Over here you get 4. 2 to the second power is 4. Add 1 to both sides. And you get x is equal to 5. Now you want to check it. I'm just going to check it by hand. Okay? You don't have to. You can do it on a calculator. But when you go to check it, you're going to plug in 5 where you see x, and you get 5 minus 1 underneath there. Going to add 3 to it, and you get 5. Hopefully. You want the left to equal the right. Okay? So underneath the radical, you have 4. Square root of 4 gives us 2. So does the left side equal the right? And sure, because 2 plus 3 gives us 5, and the right side gives us 5. So this answer checks out. The second problem. It's already isolated, so you don't have to move anything like up here we had to subtract 3. So we are going to just square it. Again, your squares and your square root cancel each other out, and we have 1 minus 2x equals 4. Go ahead and solve this problem. Subtract 1 from both sides. You get negative 2x equals 3. Divide by negative 2. And x is equal to a negative 3/2 or negative 1.5. Okay? And when you check it, you are going to have 1 minus 2, that's 2 over 1, times our x is negative 3 over 2. Now again, you can do this on your calculator. I can just do it by hand. And hopefully it gives us 2 if it's correct. Well, right here, a negative times a negative is a positive. And you're going to get 6 over 2, which is the same thing as 3. Or in my case, the way I do it is I cancel these and get 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Same thing. Okay. This gives us 4 underneath here. Square root of 4 is 2. So again, the left equaled the right. So this checked. And again, you can do this by storing it with your calculator. Okay. Now, this one here, we do not have it isolated. We have a plus 5. It's not underneath that radical. So you got to get rid of it. We're going to do that by subtracting it, because that goes away now. So we now have the square root of x plus 3 equals negative 5. So we're going to square both sides. And here, the square and the square root cancel each other out, so we get x plus 3. This gives us a positive 25, because negative 5 times negative 5 gives us positive 25. Subtract 3, and we get x equals 22. So when we check it, we're going to get 22 plus 3 plus 5 equals 0 because we plug it in the original. Now right here, this gives us a square root of 25. Well, the square root of 25 is 5. 5 plus 5 does not give us 0. It gives us 10. So it does not check out. So we are going to kick this out because it doesn't check. This is known as an extraneous solution. All our math was correct. It was just extraneous. So our answer is no solution. Okay. Now right here, we're going to subtract 1 because again, we have to isolate our radical. So on this side, we have the square root of x minus 1. Over here, we have x minus 1. Now be careful. We're going to square both sides. We're going to square this side, and we're going to square this side. This square and square root cancel each other out, and we're left with x minus 1. Guys, you have to know what this means, because a lot of you, not a lot, some of you are going to say, oh, try to do it in your head, and you're going to go, x squared plus 1. And that is wrong. Okay? You have to know what this means. Well, when you square something, you take the something and multiply it by itself. That's what to the second power means. Like here, that was negative 5 times negative 5. Right here is 2 times 2. This means x minus 1 times x minus 1. When you do FOIL, you will end up with x squared minus 1x minus 1x plus 1. So now you have x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay. But I see this time and time again, people try to do this in their head, and they end up without that in middle term. And this here sometimes is plus 1, sometimes minus 1. But make sure that I would go ahead and do this every single time if I were you. All right, we've got an x squared, so what we have to do, because this is positive, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to take this x over to this side, and I'm going to take the minus 1 over here. So I'm going to subtract x. That's going to get rid of it here. I'm going to add 1. That's going to get rid of it here. And so now I have 0 equals x squared minus 3x plus 2. Now, you're solving. You can rather factor or use quadratic formula. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But I am going to factor because to me it's faster. I don't want to plug everything in. X and x, what when multiplied will give us 2, added gives us negative 3. The signs have to be the same. The only way to get 2 is 2 and 1. I know they're going to be negative because that's the only way I can get negative 3. Check it using FOIL. X squared, negative 1x, negative 2x is negative 3x, and negative 2 times a negative 1 is positive 2. Now, take x minus 2, set it equal to 0, and take x minus 1, set it equal to 0. So we're going to add 2. Here we're going to add 1. I don't know why I'm doing it at the same time, but I get x is equal to 2 here, and I get x is equal to 1 here. So now, double check your answers. I'm just going to do it on my calculator. Okay? You can do it by hand. It's just as easy. So the first one's 2. I'm going to store it under x. I'm going to do square root. Square root and squares are opposite of each other, so they're under the same button. To get to square root, you hit your second x squared button, and you have that. So you have x minus 1. Now, I have to move my cursor to the right, so I use my right arrow key. Plus 1. I probably should have done this by hand. See how my x is 2? Right now that's 2. And it gives me 2. I should probably show you by hand. Only because of that x over there. So when I check those answers, wherever I see an x, I'm going to make it a 2. So I have 2 here. Minus 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. That'll be the first one. And the second one, when I check it, it's going to be 1. So I'm going to put a 1 here. So it's 1 minus 1. And then I have plus 1 because it's not underneath the radical. Equals, and then I'm going to put a 1. So wherever I saw x, I put 1. This is going to give me the square root of 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 gives us 2. So our left side equaled our right. So the 2 checked out. Right here, this gives me the square root of 0 plus 1 equals 1. Well, square root of 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. So the left, it checked out as right as well. So the left equaled the right. So both of these checked. I don't know why I put the little check. It just makes me feel better. And I think that's it. That is all for homework 5.